All right, look, good discussion, good conversation. But you know your boy got to do it. We got to talk about relationships, talking about dating, marriage. We got to talk about sex. Hey everyone, this is Chris Colston. I'm here with Isaiah Tukes, Kimberly Lake, and Laria Reed, and we are Four Friends in a Book. So Four Friends in a Book is our monthly podcast series where we have a discussion centered around a book that we're reading together, and we meet here for the review of that book and any topics that may or may not relate to that book. So somewhat of a book club, book review, just mixed with table talk amongst friends. So first and foremost, if you guys haven't already, please like, share, subscribe on all social media platforms. For our Facebook and YouTube viewers, we appreciate you guys. Hit us up in the comment section. And for our listeners on our podcasting services, leave us a review. We would love to hear from you guys. So, let us know what's going on. So, Four Friends in a Book podcast, again, we read books. And so the book for this month is a good one. I'm really excited about this discussion. I'm reading a book from Hill Harper. I mean, you guys know him from CSI, author, Harvard law degree. I mean, just brilliant guy. But the book for this month is The Conversation: How Men and Women Can Build Loving, Trusting Relationships. So, good book for this month, good selection. And I think we got the perfect group of people right here on Four Friends in the Book to talk about it. So we're all professional, young adults, all single, being that we're not married. So I think we got the perfect crew to really unpack this book, to discuss it, to talk about it. So again, the book is about the conversation, trying to build better relationship with men and women, and try to bridge those gaps. So what did you guys think about the book overall? And I'm coming to Ms. Lake first. What were your thoughts about this book?
I thought that it was a really great book overall. I think the title is perfect, The Conversation, because when I listened to it, it sounded like he was having a conversation with me, and the people throughout the book were having a conversation, and it gave a lot of great nuggets about not just relationships, but how to deal with yourself and becoming a better person on your own. So I think it's a really great book. I think everybody should read it.
Okay, good. Isaiah, what were your thoughts, brother?
Well, my thoughts about it, I really actually enjoyed the book, just like Kim said. I think that, everything was surrounded by, the thoughts of men and women and what they view on how a relationship should be. They was honest, they was vulnerable, with telling their stories of what they like and, what they dislike. And I think overall, they actually about 100% of their most authentic self about what they want, what they expect about a relationship, and what they're actually willing to give themselves to put into their relationship, and the longevity of what they see themselves. You had some married couples, you had some single people, so it was good to get that objective of both sides.
Yeah.
That's good. Laria?
I can say both of what they said because it was, y'all took everything I wanted to say. It was a great read. I thought that it was very informative. I liked the fact that he went deep into why culture is the way it is now when it comes to relationships, and looking a little more deeper than, we just don't talk to each other. And, it goes a lot deeper than that. And then even with the previous relationships that a person has had and being emotionally unavailable and all those things, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great read. I think everybody should read that book. That was good.
Good read.
Yeah, it was good. Look, you guys know I'm a quote guy. So one of the quotes I wrote out, kind of the beginning of the book, and kind of sets the tone for what Hill is trying to convey. He said, "I'm very concerned about what is happening to the Black family. I worry about my community and how it feels these days. We are regressing. we made huge leaps forward in the 60s and 70s, but somehow we're not holding it together anymore. And this fact is supported by the divorce rate within our community. So really telling book to really try to get to the root of what's going on with men and women, and especially with men and women in the Black community. So I love the book, a lot of good information, and it's really just predicated on us having a conversation. So yeah, and again, we got some people here that can talk about this. So we actually gonna have our mini conversations similar to the book. If you read the book and you follow Hill, he's going through interview process with men and women throughout this journey, trying to figure out what men think, what women think. Like Isaiah mentioned, he's talking to, married and single. He actually kind of, I guess, culminates this by having a party of just a mixture of people and really having a conversation and a discussion about what they feel about relationships. So I'm gonna pull a few points from the book. We're gonna do quick yes, no, and then we're gonna get into our own mini conversation here on Four Friends in the Book.
Okay.
Yeah. So first question, again, just yes, no, quick answers. And these are kind of ideas from the book and just things I kind of pulled out on my own. So dating someone 10 years older or younger? Yes, no. Laria.
Yep.
Isaiah.
Older.
No.
Kim.
Yes and no. Older, yes. Younger, no.
Okay.
Yeah, younger, no. It's a no for me too. Yeah.
Okay. So next question. Living with someone before marriage. Start with Kim. Yes, no.
No.
Isaiah.
Mom and daddy, no.
Maria.
No.
Okay. And that's actually a no for me. And I didn't answer the first question. No, I don't 10 years. I think within the 10-year period is good. Beyond that, it's kind of a stretch. So yeah, that'll be a no for me. All right. Next question. Prenup, no prenup. Isaiah.
Yes.
Maria.
I could do a prenup. Yeah, I could do it. I mean, wait a minute. Are you asking me if I would agree to a man's prenup or if I would give him a prenup?
Both.
I mean, it wouldn't bother me. I could do it. It wouldn't.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. Yeah.
All right, Kim.
No.
Okay. For me, I don't know. It's a maybe. I understand the intent. I also understand the other side of it. I don't know. It's a maybe. Maybe.
Well, I don't think I would give anybody a prenup, but if he had a lot of assets or something, he asked me to sign something. As long as it was fair, I'm good. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I wouldn't.
I think just basically protects yourself in a situation. I mean, when we go into these situations lovingly, everything is smoother. But when things are topsy turvy, that's when you see the bad side. So I think it's best to go in a situation protecting yourself. Not saying you're ready to get a divorce, but just in case we go down that road, I want to be able to protect myself.
Gotcha. All right. So interracial dating. Laria.
I could maybe. I couldn't say a yes. I love Black men, so that's my preference. But I mean, if he's like mixed or something like that, maybe.
Samoan.
I would never say right. I would never say no. I would never say no to anything.
Okay. For me, I jump in there. At this point, I think no. At one point, it was a yes. But yeah, I'm at a no at this stage of life. So, Ken, what about you?
No, as well.
She's killing me with these no's. She's so serious with it.
All right, Isaiah, interracial dating, yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, he down with the swirl.
All right. And so this question is for the women, and it was kind of one of the points that was pulled out from the book. Do you feel valued by Black men? Yes, no, sometimes. What are your thoughts?
You want me to go? Were you
Sure.
asking, do I feel valued?
Mhm.
This is a yes or no question still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel valued by Black men. I do.
Okay.
Yes, as well.
All right. So this for me and Isaiah to answer. So do we feel valued by Black women? So Isaiah.
Yes.
All right. And I feel the same way as well. It was kind of an interesting point. So in the book, we follow along and hear interviews people. And so there was a lot of conflicting, I guess, notions about feeling valued. Primarily, I think from the men and the women, but it was kind of interesting to hear that. So that's why I wanted to kind of ask that question. So yeah. All right, so look, Four Friends in the Book podcast, we got 4 people right here. We finna have this conversation. You better open it up. Look, again, we are all young professionals. You know, back in the day, we should have been married already and had 10 kids, but we are not. So let's unpack that. Let's have the conversation. Let's talk. Let's discuss. We're gonna go through a series of just asking our own questions of each other and kind of unpacking and having a discussion. So yeah, we gonna get into it. I'm gonna let Laria kick it off. So go ahead with your question.
Let me get my question. Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys, where do you think the roots of problems lie when it comes to creating stable, loving relationships? Like, where do you think the root of the problem is when you're creating a loving and stable relationship? And I can start with whoever wants to go first. The root of the problem. What do y'all think?
I'll go.
Okay.
I think the root of the problem a lot of the times is communication issues. I think miscommunication is, I think, the biggest breakdowns for relationships, whether it's with money, finances, sex, whatever it is. I think the miscommunication between the two people in the relationship is the breakdown or where the issue or the root of the issues lie, in my opinion.
That's a good one. That sounds good. What about you, Isaiah?
You know, I think, well, most couples, they don't realize that, you know, no matter how many times you enter into like a new relationship, you will still end up with that same person. Only the names and that face change because you looking for that same type of person. And this is because you attract basically who you are. So if you want to attract a better partner, become a better person. You know, for me, I am closest to 40 than I am 20. So I can't go dating based on potential anymore. I think sometimes that we go into these situations, we see red flags and we hoping they turn into green flags. And, you know, even the Bible talks about, you know, being equally yoked. And if I'm grinding, setting myself for just basically, you know, the building my family, wealth, generational wealth, it would be not right for me to be with someone who actually has a spending problem and has no goals. And basically, I'm just using it for an example.
Well, you better. Yes, sir.
Hey, look,
Yes, sir.
I thought
Potential God.
I thought my boy about to do a little rant over here. He got
He did. He
It's
did a
really
mini
like-
one.
Coming out.
He did a mini one. What about you, Chris?
oh man, I think it's a combination of a few things. But if I had to kind of sum it up, and it was kind of one of the points within the book, I think we are fearful. I think we are afraid. I think even to Isaiah's point, you know, being with someone that's not, you know, that you're not equally yoked to. So there's that fear that you may be doing something, or you may be motivated by something that someone else isn't. Even to Kim's point, fearful to have these tough conversations and discussions. Like there's just so many things that have driven a wedge into fostering good relationships and friendships, and creating this bond that would really allow relationships to kind of flourish. And so, but if I had to kind of sum it up, I think it is fear. You know, you think about divorces and the divorce rate. So we kind of hit on prenups. You know, people are going into it with the fear that it may not work. It may not. So it may not end well. And so I think there's a lot of fear now for some reason that is, you know, kind of snowballing and creating issues within relationships. So.
Good.
Good question.
Well, am I supposed to answer, or am we supposed to keep going?
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
Look, I'm like, oh, am I supposed to answer? Like, I got like 800 answers for this question, because it's like, I feel like your upbringing has a lot to do with how you express love and what you've seen growing up in your family culture. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that not stating what you want up front is something that can cause, kind of like what Chris was talking about with the fear, but just not coming out and saying, you know, like, look, this is what I want, this is what I will not do, this is what I will do. And the third thing I think is I had to get rid of that notion that just because a guy is a good guy doesn't mean he's a guy for me. So I think that that's something that floats around. It's like, because there's so many people that are like, you need to hook up with him and you need to talk to him, but he could be a great guy, but he just ain't for you. And it's okay, especially in the church world. It's always like, he's single, you're single, you love Jesus, he loves Jesus, go, you know. And it's like, no, I don't think so. We aren't equally yoked. Other than we love Jesus, you know. So I think that's kind of the root of things, is in creating, not, you know, just keeping everybody out and really stating what you want and developing yourself. So yeah, I said about 5 different things, but yeah, that's mine.
Okay.
Sorry.
Like the good old church hookup.
Right. I'm like, oh, at a quarter.
All right, so who has the next question? Who wants to ask the question to the group, to the audience, and even for those that are viewing us on Facebook and YouTube? Like, drop some of your questions in the chat. We want to hear from you guys too.
So I think I had the next question. Lorraine, it was interesting you asked that question, because I actually want to piggyback off your question as well too. You know, in this book, you know, Hill Harper tries to find the roots of the breakdown of the Black family and the relationship between Black women and men. So what do you guys believe are the root issues of the breakdowns in these Black families? Or just between men and women?
I think.
I'm sorry, Kim Lake.
I'm sorry. Look, I wouldn't let them take that out. I'm like, go Kim, go.
Hey, switch it up.
Let the host tell you what.
I think in the book they explore about just the historical context of Black people in America and how that added society pressure of like racism and all the things we had to face put an extra load on our relationship. So I think all those things added to the breakdown of the family, even them talking about welfare and how you can't have like a working man in the home. So it's like, okay, we need assistance, so you got to go. So I think it's just the cycle of that happening to us since the beginning of us being here. And I think just over time, you know, it's hard to break cycles like that. You know, usually monkey see, monkey do. If you're raised in a family like that, I mean, if that's all you know, you probably replicate that in your own life and family, and that just keeps going on. And also, to your point, the breakdown between Black men and women. I know in the book they talked about how usually one of the guys saying like if a white couple got in an argument, like the argument would stay with what the man did. But a lot of times in Black relationships, it won't just stay there. It'll say Black men and put indictment on the whole community. So we have that mixture in ours, and I just think that adds to the pressure and the breakdown of our families and relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, great answer.
That was a very good answer.
And Mr. Colston, I'm gonna come to you next.
Yeah, Kim made a good point. I don't really have much to even add. I think what she said is kind of good. One of the points that Hill kind of captured in the book is that I think, and I wrote it down. So in 1966, more than 84% of Black children were raised by two-parent households. In 2006, that number had dropped to fewer than 33%. So significant drop within the two-parent household, and so it's really been an attack on our family structure. You know, when I think about growing up, you know, having your grandparents, your uncles, your aunts around you, you know, having your parents, and even my parents are still together now. Just that structure and that environment, it really does take a village to raise, you know, a child. And so when we have kind of been separated from that, whether that's been through, you know, legal means as far as, you know, certain subsidies or support that doesn't allow for both parents to be in the house if you're getting, you know, some type of assistance. Or we just get into the discussion about teenage pregnancies, and now you have, you know, just younger parents and younger grandparents. And so a lot of those traditions and those morals and values that were taught, they're not being passed on now. And I think it is kind of the family structure is kind of eroding. I don't really know what the real root of it is, but I just know we have to do something to get it back. And again, I think this book does a good point of trying to capture and bring it out. If nothing else, just to have the conversation about it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good answer, man.
Can you say the question one more time?
Okay. Yes. The question is, what do you believe that the root issues of these breakdowns between, you know, the Black men and the Black women as it pertains to like the family life?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that a lot of negativity from outside people and what they've experienced is kind of like what everybody talks about, and it affects the structure of how you view each other. And so I think what Kim said and what Chris said, great point. And I'm adding to what they said, which is I think a lot of outside influences, like if you speak to someone who's been hurt or scorned by someone who's, you know, a Black woman or Black male, it's going to be like, you know, these men, they da 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 da. And then they have you looking like, you know, okay, well, let me start paying attention. And it could be nothing there, and you make it into something because you've been influenced by someone like your mom or your aunt or someone who's of influence to you. And so I feel that that's been a lot of the problem, even for men. You know, it's like, you know, these Black women, they want to make their money, they selfish, they want to, but every woman isn't like that. Maybe that's who you encounter. But I think that we generalize each other when it's not like that. And I've been guilty of doing that with not necessarily with men and women, but, you know, professions and stuff like, you know, them, whatever they act like, but that's not necessarily true. It's the person. And I think we have to not necessarily judge people, but accept the behavior from individuals, you know.
Okay.
I think that's important.
Good question. Good answer. I'm sorry. And you know, my answer would be as well too that, you know, basically, you know, when we see our parents' generation, you know, they marry and they stay for the long run. Like any disagreements that they actually had, they tried to work it out, you know, and get over the hump and, you know, just try to keep their family structure in line. And, you know, what you see today is one little thing and we're ready to go to divorce court. And I think a lot of the things that I actually read in the book was that even if we're having a difficult time with our partner, I think it's best to communicate with your significant other rather than going to an outside influence. Because once we make up, either the other person or your family members will be looking at that person like, why would you go back? They did such and such. So I think if you're mad, it should be between you two. If you're happy, it should be between you two. I think that's how you build a bond. That's how you build the trust. That's how you able to codepend on each other. So I think that, like all y'all said, like outside influence should basically just stay outside, and your relationship between that person should between you and the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Look, so keep your family out. That's basically what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What we didn't talk about though is that women are able to make their own money now. So a lot of people are not putting up with stuff that my grandma was making money doing what she did. I don't know if she would have stayed with my grandfather. You know what I'm saying? So we're in a different culture. We're not in survival mode anymore. So nobody has to be with anybody anymore for anything. And I think we've got to think outside of the box.
Yeah, but even with that though, Laria, because I think that's creating a new stereotype. So now it's the thing of where you don't need a man. So historically, it was like you needed a partner, you needed a husband or a wife. You needed a two incomes to really make it. And so you kind of hear different opinions about that. But even you mentioned like the stereotypes that we have. It's like we're stereotyping each other. We're coming to these situations with prejudice against each other, and I think that's still driving a wedge. So as things are evolving, we're still creating these new mindsets that aren't really helping us to come together. It's still kind of divisive to a certain degree.
That's right. We just go sit here and we go.
I was like, we done. Well, I have a question. I can go with my question.
What's your question?
So, men and women communicate differently. I mean, we have tons of podcasts on this, books, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Like, we're just different. Generally speaking, we're different in our communication. So, how can we bridge the gap between men and women in this miscommunication or difference in communication with each other? And I'll start with Isaiah.
Okay. I think a lot of the breakdown in this miscommunication actually starts with when we go into these relationships with these imaginary checklists. And I'm telling you, and I'm telling anyone that you don't have to actually settle for scraps, but you do have to be realistic in what you want and what you expect out of your person, and especially what you actually bring to the table. Don't be expecting me to bring the whole table when you only come with plastic forks and spoons. And you have to be honest with yourself and what you value yourself and actually what you value out of other people. And I don't believe that we need to just find someone just exactly alike us in every single way, but you do need to find someone that actually have their own life. Basically, y'all actually are coexisting together. You know how I feel about these legacy and dynasties coming together. But, when I look into my significant other, basically I envision myself with her because of what she brings, how much of important that she is basically to my life. And that we're on the same page and we actually want the same things out of life.
Hey, that boy was getting a little heated over there. He's speaking from experience.
And you bringing plastic forks and knives to the table.
Right.
I'm dying.
That was good.
I don't know why I keep forgetting the question because I be getting so caught up in what y'all keep saying.
Sure. I'm gonna throw it to you. What can we do to fix this communication gap between men and women?
Okay. Now I forgot my answer. I was like, what? I get so caught up in his question. Honestly, I just
do that rant. He threw you off.
Yeah, I was like all in it, and now I forgot everything. To bridge the communication gap between men and women, I think for me, I have to talk to other men that are trusted voices to find out how I should say certain things. Like if I'm talking to my homegirl, like I can call you and be like, girl, da, 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 and you're gonna take it and be like, oh yeah, because I'm used to talking to Kim as a female. But I feel with men, sometimes you can't say certain things the way we interpret because we understand each other because we're of the same species. you guys have a different language. You need to see things. You know, I could say, like, me and Chris and Kim had a conversation about we were talking about cutting the grass. And I was saying, yeah, I would hire somebody to just cut the grass. Like, I've always done that anyway. And I'm like, especially if I had a family, like, yeah. And Chris was like, why would I do that when I have a lawnmower? I can do my own grass, da 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 da. And me and Kim was trying to get him to understand that, but he didn't get it. Then he sends us a video on Instagram like, oh, I get it now. Because somebody was like, somebody showed why they had somebody come and clean up and why they had somebody to come. And so he was like, oh, I get it now. But he had to see it in a different way. So a lot of times, if it's something, any man, I always ask Chris or Isaiah or a good friend of mine or whoever, like, how should I say this? Or how do I need to have this talk? I think that helps by having male. Now, don't go to any man, but men who can, give you good advice. I think good advice is very much needed. So,
Trusted advisors.
yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Chris?
I think we just gotta talk, man. I think we literally have to communicate. Especially considering that we know that there's a difference. I mean, we know that men hear things differently. We know that women express things differently. They may be more emotional, or men are more, kind of task oriented. So even the concept of, we always hear like women just want to vent and talk about their day. They don't need you to solve their problem. They just want to talk about it and express it. Whereas the man is thinking the whole time, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? So it's like we're learning these things, we're learning these, behaviors and how to make adjustments, but it's still as if we are assuming that the other person should know this off top, and we're not expressing or communicating our desires. And we are letting our expectations fail us because we are withholding these words to really say, hey, like, this is how I feel. Or this, when I say this, this is what I'm meaning, or this is what I'm trying to express. So it's really just trying to create an environment, trying to create a space where you feel comfortable to communicate in a safe space, and not in a hostile environment and is not received negatively. I mean, you know that you have a partner that has your back, and so even when you say something that may be that kind of out of terms or out of the normal, that it's genuine, and you're really trying to learn from that situation, opposed to you're saying something and expecting something else, and getting upset because you don't receive it. So even so he was mentioning in the book how women to get together and have a spa day, or they give their girlfriends, and then create an environment where they can really talk and like express themselves. And so his point was like, when women have something to talk about, like, why don't they create that same space with men, or create a space where men like enjoy it? So maybe not the spa or the nail salon, but like go sit at the bar, like go watch a game, and like slowly kind of unfold these things. So it's like, I feel like the information is there, we're just not utilizing it. So
Good.
Okay, my boy.
I guess for me, I think too, he talked about in the book being honest in your communication. He hit on how, say, a woman might be insecure about how she's looking, might have gained a few pounds or something, and instead of being honest with that about her partner, she'll say like, "Does this dress make me look fat?" And so he's like, "Okay." If he gives an honest answer, it's like, "What, you think I'm big?" Instead of just being honest about how you're really feeling. And I think both men and women need to tap into how they're really feeling about something, and be able to have that vulnerability and be comfortable. And like Chris said, have that environment to where you can be honest, so where you won't have that breakdown. I think a lot of times there's a lot of dishonesty about how we're really feeling about something, and that can cause a problem with communication between men and women.
Okay.
All right, look, good discussion, good conversation, but your boy got to do it. We got to talk about relationship, talking about dating, marriage. We got to talk about sex. So why is sex and finance? But my question, why is sex and finance such a taboo topic or conversation piece within relationships? Like, why are we so hesitant to talk about those areas when they seem to be kind of the leading cause of divorce with their marriages? And usually when you hear about people talking about why that marriage didn't work, it was usually something about finances or the lack of sex. So knowing this, why are we not talking about this and having discussions prior to? And who I'm coming to first? Larry gave me an eyebrow.
There you go, Loria.
She had that look on her face. Yeah.
Look, let's do it. Let's talk about it. Let's go into this whole sex thing. Okay. So I think it's the vulnerability of the naked truth. Literally. With sex, you're uncovering everything. With finances, you uncovering everything. Like, nobody goes around showing their credit score and how much money they have in the bank. You can assume it all day. I can drive a nice car, I can do whatever, and I might have a negative balance of $120. You wouldn't know that by looking at me. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's the vulnerability that a lot of us have not experienced, so that we can just talk about those things where it's like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is how much I owe. This is what I got going on. And I think it's like that fear of rejection too. Like, what if you don't like it? I guess sex. And what if you don't like these finances, the money, and how much I owe? Because when you get married to me, you're taking on what I got. And I think that a lot of people just don't want to talk about that because it's a very vulnerable thing. Yeah. It's very vulnerable. So
That's good. Isaiah, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on it. First, I want to gravitate towards the sex situation. I think men and women don't really talk about that outside of your friends because you don't want to be looked at in a certain type of way. I can understand that. I asked a woman point of view about that as well too. Nobody really wants to talk about body count, and we at this age where we're young, but we're responsible adults. So we've been in these situations, and we know we know what we want, and we know what we ask for in our partner. As far as like with finances, I think y'all stated before that we are professional adults, so we have actually worked so hard to obtain this type of situation to be financially free. So you want to be with somebody that actually brings out the best and shoots for the stars and just want that goals. But like L'Oreal says, that sometimes you have to be vulnerable. Like, yeah, hey, this is what I got. This is what I'm going for. This is what I want to do. But you really, like I said before, I really don't like to settle for potential. I like to settle for what you actually show me.
That's good. That's good. I think for me, man, it's really one of those things where, and Larry kind of touched on it, like we just it's so vulnerable. It's one of those areas. I mean, even you grow up, like you don't hear about your parents' finances. You don't hear about sex or anything. Even we talk about we've talked about it in the past, like even the topic of sex within the church is like just such a taboo and touchy subject. Like we know what's happening, like these babies coming from somewhere, so like we know these things are happening, but it's just it's so, I guess, vulnerable, and it's leaving people kind of leaving you in the dark because you're afraid to have the discussion, and then like it's almost like you get too deep or you in too deep, and then you find out. So then things are revealed, whether it's about your finances or your sex life or desires. And then your partner's like I ain't cool with that. But if we would have had those conversations, up front, and I ain't saying first date, like I heard the discussions and talk about, on the first date, I want to know what your credit score is. I don't know how much bank account, what's in your bank account, like how much student loans you got. Like I don't think that's appropriate. But once you get to a certain space with someone, there should be a discussion. And again, considering that divorce is predicated often on sex and finances, like those should be things you talk about. What's enough sex? What's too much sex? How much student loans are you comfortable with? You know, how much debt are you comfortable with? Even when you're talking about, you know, Isaiah, like building this legacy and this empire, like how do you do that without having those discussions and really planning and trying to apply out, you know, your future? So we gotta have those conversations, and considering the severity of these two topics, like it's a must that we, you know, start talking about them. So, all right, I'm gonna say my little piece. Look, Ms. Lake, what you got on this topic?
I will piggyback off of Laria and the vulnerability, but I think in that, I think it's the fear of maybe being rejected about your decisions or what you may have done, or like shame attached to it. So you kind of afraid about what somebody might think about you. So with finances, like, oh, like I racked up all this student debt, or I was wilding out at one point in my life. I got all this credit card debt. Now I'm ashamed about it, you know. So wanting to share that can make people want to hide it, because I think the shame of it. So I think once people own what they've done, and you know, you might have done, like with finances, made some bad decisions, or even sexually, if you feel like you I know that everybody talks about body count and all that stuff, but whatever it may be, sex wise for you, I think once you own who you are, and you know, forgive yourself if you feel shame or fear rejection about what somebody might think or say, once you get comfortable in yourself, I think you're more ready to share that and be open about it. So I think it's just basically getting rid of the fear of rejection or what people might think, or the shame you might feel attached will kind of keep you quiet about certain things. So I think getting good with yourself, forgiving yourself, and owning, you know, this is just my life, this is my history, whatever, this is me, and laying it out on the table, I think that will help in these discussions that typically don't happen, but should happen before you especially marry somebody, your sex life and your finances. So that's my little spiel.
Good answer.
That was very good.
Oh, good. That was good. So again, For Friends in a Book podcast, reading and reviewing the Conversation by Hill Harper. Definitely a good read. If you have any desires to be in a relationship, to be married, I think it is a must that you have a conversation. And I think we've kind of talked about it in the past as well. Like, you have to get to a space where you are whole within yourself. So whether that's you know, coming to terms with things that you may have done, and kind of getting rid of that shame or whatever it may be, until you get to that space, it's hard. It will be hard for you to be in a relationship with someone else, and to be to have these expectations of them when you haven't really kind of gotten yourself to that space. So we got to do the work on ourselves, and we got to have the conversation. So excellent book for this month, and I think it was perfect for us because we got the people here on For Friends in a Book that can talk about it firsthand. So great selection. If you haven't read it, definitely go check it out. And man, look here, I need to hear from you, bro. What happened to my girl? What happened to my girl Nicole? Like,
Nicole, you don't talk about that. What happened to Nicole?
I was just talking to somebody about it today. I was telling her this was the book we were doing, and she was like, "Girl, I was looking on social media for Nicole. I was Googling her and everything."
I was like, maybe I'll try to find. I tried to Google or something, but I couldn't find it. So Nicole needs to hit us up. That's what
yeah, we need to hear from Nicole.
Or is that even her real name?
You're right.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Good point. Good point. Good point. All right. So again, if you've been rocking with For Friends for a while, you know what time it is. We have this little piece every episode, which we call the rant. 60 seconds, uninterrupted. Somebody speaking from the heart. Whatever's on their mind, we don't debate it, we don't contest it. And you know we got Mr. Rant Man. He hit us every time. We never know what we getting. But my brother Isaiah Tukes about to step up and take another hit at this rant. So we about to. He had a little mini rant on this earlier. You know, he started talking about these relationships. I don't know what we getting. We never know what we getting. But my brother, look, do your thing. Starting now. Go.
For the past 2 weeks, the world has watched the devastation happening in Ukraine. But what I don't want to happen is Brittany Griner's stories to get lost in that situation. Brittany Griner, a 7-time WNBA All-Star, 2 Olympic gold medal, and a championship ring, plays professional basketball overseas in Russia during her offseason. And since February, it has been reported that Brittany has been retained by the Russian government and could face up to 10 years in prison. What Brittany had was hash oil, which is most often used for anxiety, to reduce inflammation, and to manage pain. And it's easy to see why she was using it. And since it was in her handbag, my guess is she was probably forgot it was in there. And in other countries, it probably wouldn't be a big deal. But in Russia, it is a big deal, and especially in Russia right now. And I personally wouldn't have gone there right now. But when she has actually played there over the years, she probably didn't think it was actually a big issue. Regardless of the opinions around the WNBA, Black women athletes, drug usage, a U.S. citizen is being detained. It's really serious. And I hope she doesn't become a pawn in this game between two countries. And sending thoughts and prayers are sometimes thought of as cliche, but in this moment, this is all we have. But in today, I'm sending all mine to Brittany Griner. May she return home soon and safe. And that's that on that.
That's good, brother. That's good. And I think she may have kind of getting lost with everything else that's going on, but I can only imagine that situation being very scary, considering that you're stuck in another country and a war is going on. So, let's definitely keep her in our thoughts and prayers, and hopefully she'll have a safe and quick return back home. So, good. That's good. All right, so 4 Friends in a Book podcast just wrapped the rant, just wrapped this book, the conversation by Hill Harper. So, as always, we read books over here every month. We want you guys to read with us. So, Isaiah, tell them about the book for next month.
Hey guys, before we let you go, we want you to actually join us in our next discussion as we discuss How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith. This book is a New York Times bestseller and is on a short list of every single list that you can actually think of, and now is on the radar of 4 Friends in a Book, and you don't want to miss it. L'Oreal, tell the viewers when they can tune in.
You guys can tune in to 4 Friends in a Book every third Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every third Thursday. So go ahead on, put us in your phone, lock us in, so that you can do that and watch us and be with us and read with us.
And our YouTube family is growing. So if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 4 Friends in a Book.
Okay. Yeah, guys, as always, we appreciate you guys rocking with us. Also, be looking out for those author spotlights. We're featuring authors as a new edition of our 4 Friends podcast as well. So be looking out for those. And as always, guys, we thank you for your time, for joining with us. Let's continue to read, let's learn, let's grow, and let's have a discussion here on 4 Friends in a Book. Thank you.